All right, so now these are the community questions. Some of them are pretty technical, so if you can't answer them, and of course half of them are just like, when is this coming out? So just say pass, right? I'm not trying to get you guys for information or gotcha anything. So the first question is, were the RGB shells always planned, or were they originally a reaction to community feedback?
No, they were all, I mean, I'm part of the community. I'm a Ghostbusters fan, so I wanted them probably as bad as you guys. I mean, that's just a fact. Like when we started working on this game, like the shell idea, like, you know, I love the customization. I love the gear that we made. I love the art that we made. I love the design that we've done. But I always would build these cool packs and min-maxing and like, this is the pack that I want. But then I was like, man, I just want it to look like the 80s pack. And so that was the genesis of like, can't we just keep it like this? And then when that started, you know, being talked about, I was like, you know, since we're doing this, I want the RGB stuff. And, you know, that was all being talked about before launch. But, you know, it's one of those things where like, it's great reinforcement when the community gets behind something that hasn't been announced, and they're like,
very encouraging.
we just want this. Like, see, I told you, this is you know, this is what we need. So but the devs don't, I mean, that's the thing, like when I come in and say like, this is what we need in X, Y, and Z, like the devs don't really, like, if there's a batshit idea, you know, crazy idea, that's usually from Jordan. But like when I come in and say, hey, we need to bring the real Ghostbusters stuff in, everyone's like, okay, yeah, let's figure that out. So
next one was you did a great job with the RGB stuff in agreement there, but we need a yellow cable from the neutrino onto the pack, and the trap needs to be on the left side of the pack. Can we make it happen?
I was thinking about it for a second.
Yeah, no,
why isn't the cable yellow? Like
I'm thinking of what, because I'm trying to think if that had come up at some point. It doesn't sound too difficult, but
you see, that's the thing, right? Like, you don't know, what if you change something and go comes up, you didn't get us permission.
I mean, the pack side switch, that's up to, you know, that's like, you know,
that's not up to you guys.
Well, no, it's more a matter of like sockets and nodes and you know, trying to keep it as simple and make the most sense as possible for the technology of things. And it's one of those, it's you know, game development is definitely, it's buckets, right? Where it's like you have time and money and effort and budget. And so it's like, you know, do we go like, oh man, we need to put it on the left side, and then my engineers go, cool, that's going to take 2 weeks. By the way, that 2 weeks is going away from these bug fixes, right, and this polish. So that's the unfortunate, terrible life that I live, of just going like, hey, cool idea. Ooh, that means that this goes away, you know, and it is one of those scenarios where maybe one day, maybe when an engineer's not chasing some unfixable bug or some crazy crash or some blah, 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 it's like, hey, you know, these guys, you know, brought this up. But the big thing is like, does it really break people's brains to see it on the right versus the left, you know? And right. that's the thing. It's like, the yellow hose thing, I think that we could easily look into that, and we could find that, but it's like moving a socket to the other side. That sounds easy. It does sound easy, but it's one of those things where it's like, it then makes the Christmas lights like tangled up, and right. You know, so but you know, who knows? We could look into everything, really.
No.
That's why it's important to just be able to hear all the feedback, and that way we can keep track of it all.
Will we get more interaction options in the Firehouse, sitting in chairs, playing pool, and jump ghost?
What about the dartboard, Jordan?
The darts.
Jordan promised me the dartboard would work at launch.
Whoa!
He promised me the dartboard would launch.
You promised him, Jordan. Why didn't you make your promise?
And there's so much stuff he promised me, and he let me down the entire time. But I mean, there's so much stuff that's there, and it's, once again, it's the time bucket. It's like, do you want a really dope new ghost, or do you want to play janky pool? And you know, that's the thing that we're working on constantly.
And the community's like, yes, all of it. You're like, okay,
yeah, give me all that. I mean, that's
like, you're like, no, I can't.
Yeah, just give me all. I mean, that's the great part, is, you know, and that's why I'm not making excuses for any of this stuff. It's like, it literally, it's I've got X people, they've got Y hours in the day, and that means
right.
Z bugs get fixed and F features get added. But you know, the the thing that, you know, is the fun and unfortunate part is when people are like, well, I mean, they've got a big team, right? They've made this game. They should be able to do all these things. There's something that you guys don't know, and that will explain why you're not getting pool right now. Because there's big things that are coming. So yeah.
That's awesome to hear. Next question is, the lore clippings mention some pretty specific entities. Will we potentially be seeing nods to these in future updates, or are they just fun flavor text?
Well, it depends on which which entity, I wonder, are they talking about? And then if we say a specific entity that might be DLC or might be something, I'm gonna say no comment. So I don't really know how to answer this one. This one's a pretty tough question. But
the best way to do it is just anything is possible. It's the best answer.
Then anything.
Yeah, Jordan knows it.
Yeah, anything and everything is possible. And if it doesn't happen, Jordan is to blame.
And this is just a comment. This is because I took feedback from the community in the league, and the league just wants to say that thanks so much for making the Ghostbuster game we've always wanted. So that's just nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh,
I'm so stoked on the league. Like I worked at MLG. I was global esports at Razer for a year, and I love competitive games, and this game was never built to be competitive. And that's the funny part. Like I never expected there to be a league. I never expected there to be teams and players and all that stuff. And so, I feel like as soon as the league started with like their goofy making fun of like the old school, like Mountain Dew, MLG sunglasses ghost. Yeah, I was just like, yeah, like, cause that was the MLG era of it all. And it was just, it made me laugh because like when Halo started getting a league, there was just bunch of goofy dudes.
I remember. I remember that esports before it was esports.
Yeah, and so the idea of the league being something, we did the jerseys for the league, which that's, I feel like the bare minimum we could have done. I think that like as it grows and ways that we can help support it is going to be a factor with it, because it's really cool when someone can play a game and get good at it. But it's really, really cool when someone could get into competitive play and actually start becoming known as like the best player in that realm of competitive play, and following those rules and regulations and all of the other things. It takes your casual gameplay to a whole new level. So I hope that it grows, and I hope that it succeeds, and I hope that the league and the teams really can get what I hope that they want to get out of what we're doing. So yeah, it's very exciting.
Jordan, as a designer, do you watch the league play and be like, oh god, like do you cringe, be like, we gotta fix that, that's really bad, but you still play because it's awesome? Yes. But like you go, oh my god, I need to fix that, I need to fix that, I need to fix that.
I mean that's any stream really, but I feel like that's what makes it even more special with the league, is they help keep it extra sharp, because everyone that's playing at that kind of level is really paying attention and focusing on all the little details that are spread everywhere, that really take a lot of time to go over and really finesse. So to get feedback around that is really helpful, or to see them using any kind of feature, going really far with something that you didn't expect someone to be able to help me consider like where do we need to keep that thing in order to make sure that the high level play is really benefiting and recognizing the different things that are happening.
Do you guys have a favorite Ghostbuster League team?
You can't play favorites.
Can you guys elaborate on why the particle thruster was changed to toggle on and off, aside from push to activate like the other equipment? Do you plan on having and setting in options to have a toggle push to activate, or like a preference option for people who want it the other way?
Yeah, I think that would be good. There was a lot of rework that went into the gear attachments to
make them better.
Make them more efficient in a lot of different ways, and input was one of them. So that was something that we were trying to tweak and push and pull amongst a lot of other gadget attachments, trying to make sure that they all kind of existed in their own separate spaces, so that when you're doing these different things, you can use them without conflicting if you have a bunch of them equipped at once. So that was a big feature for the particle thruster, to switch to that, and I think it would be fair to look into getting an option in for it as well, just to help with accessibility on that.
So it can become tedious to go against ghosts that do not engage at all and just do the runaway meta, especially the ectoplast and ghoulies. Will there be a bigger push with balance toward more engagement and aggression between busters and ghosts in the future? If so, how would you go about that?
I think really talk about that.
Yeah, we can't.
Yeah, not yet. In the future.
Just as far as balance is concerned, like we're focused on certain segments of the game right now, specifically to just improve the overall feel across the board to make sure that everything comes to a really solid place to begin with. And I feel like as we continue to update and do things, we're going to be able to handle that and make sure that everything feels really good across the board to try and minimize some of those outlier scenarios.
Perfect.
I mean, that's the thing. Like that's just any multiplayer game.
Yeah.
You get Call of Duty, you get a game that just has guns and people go and hide and camp and blah blah blah. It's just that's online gaming. People play a certain way and some people play a certain crappy way, and we're adding a bunch of elements that are gonna allow both sides to play, to kind of finite, change their elemental play. But that's just the unfortunate part, is like people that just play hide, and I've played numerous people that just played run ghost, and honestly, I've had probably the most fun with that kind of challenge when someone's playing like that, when they're really good at that, because that's where you're throwing some pre-traps around corners where they're going to go, and you I've done tetherless traps on people that played like that, because I just started to notice the route that they were running. It's like, okay, they're going to go over here, throw that trap out, and then just jam them up. I believe I did that to you, Jordan.
No. That never happened.
Jordan does like to run. That's his meta. I've seen him play. He likes to run. So the next question I have is the centrifugal thruster. Sorry, I can't say it right now. The thruster was a major part of the toolkit in 1.3, and you guys nerfed it for a cooldown. Now I'm the black sheep of the group. I'm like, it needed a cooldown. As a ghost main, you never got away from the ghosts. They were always behind you. It was really frustrating. But can you elaborate on why you put the cooldown on it, like the logic behind the cooldown to the thrusters?
It needs to be used so I buffed as far as how far it was bringing you, because originally when it was first launched there wasn't a cooldown, and it had the ability for people to toggle pretty quickly on the sprint venting meta that kind of developed. So I done some initial work to try and tone that down a little bit as far as how much it was giving you a boost, because they were, if you had that, you were always there. So the cooldown is the first implementation of that to further allow us to keep the boosting at a lot higher rate, to make it a bit more enjoyable and a bit more effective in the moment. And we always want to make sure that anytime you have something so powerful, it's never easily accessible back to back, because then it just creates something where, of course, that would have been really easy to just continually have access to it, because then you're constantly in engagement range, where it does need to be something that is more carefully chosen when it's being used, so that it becomes more of a strategic element rather than just something that's always there equipped to you, instantly accessible for immediate use.
Frequency made it the same thing. I was like, I can't believe this doesn't have a cooldown. I'm just pinging civilians all over the place. So I feel like that was part of your, like you said, your slow release it, look at it, fix it as needed type of thing.
Yeah, because we had a lot of we were thinking that some of them were kind of in that realm, but obviously, like Jared and I've been describing, there's a lot of things to consider when you're moving to final launch, or just you gotta prioritize what's important for getting the gameplay out and playable. And we had a feeling with some of those, but knew that we would be able to, focus in, gather the feedback, see it in live, make sure that what we were believing was going to happen, and then being able to address it, which is, another part of the big gear attachment upgrade pass we did, to make sure things were kind of falling in that right place. And then we'll continue to keep an eye on it and see where it lands from here, so that we can continue to do balance adjustments for everything.
So in the current build right now in 1.4, there's a method called quick tethering, and I actually timed it. It's approximately, because I have a stopwatch. I don't have tools like you do, but I have a stopwatch, and it's 0.75 seconds to tether a ghost to the right build without the particle thruster. Now, is that an intentional, like, was that a thing you guys meant to imply, like a faster tether for the Ghost, so the Ghost has to play more strategically, or is that something that's bugged or not, or being abused?
So I did some extensive research on this because this one slipped by me, but I did find the bug that was causing a quicker tether to happen and have addressed it for the hot patch that we're gonna do.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, see, like they do, like
That
that's
is
the whole
for
point.
sure going to be in the hot patch, right, Jordan?
Yeah. No, it's in there. I got it. Yeah, I figured out where it
We'll
was
post
causing.
Jordan's cell phone number underneath
yeah.
the screen.
And any time that we do balance updates, I'm making a point to try and get a little blurb out with the patch notes each time to kind of explain thought process behind all that, because I'm going off of what I was seeing in live playing, as well as a lot of your guys' feedback from that video. There's a lot of good stuff, like I was saying, that keeps us sharp around what different things are happening throughout each of the updates, and that was something that I had heard mention of and wanted to make sure I dove into it pretty deeply and addressed it really quickly, because it does make a big difference in the moment-to-moment gameplay, especially at the higher levels.
Yeah, I can't wait for people to, like, when that gets fixed, be like, I can't believe we can't tether anymore. It's just stupid. It's broken. Ghostbusters so broken. You can't play them anymore. Yeah, the pendulum that Jared said, just the constant. This is fun. This is not fun. This is fun.
I mean, we were making balanced passes on Predator 2 years later. I mean, that's just a fact. It's just one of those things where games, not only do they get better over time, but the players get better over time. The players find those little sneaky issues or find that min-max balance that might have slipped through the cracks.
Oh, and like it's cool too. I want to thank you guys also for your transparency. Just on Twitter, like, Jordan, I'm always tweeting at you when I have a question about like something that's unclear in the game, and you always respond. You're like, here's what everything means, which is super helpful. And not the fact, I've gotten a reputation now where people are like, if people have a question about a mechanic, they're like, ask Greg, and Greg will ask Jordan. I'm like, it's just Twitter, guys. Like, anyone can ask him. You don't need to
respond to anybody.
Yeah, I don't need to be me. But they're like, just have Greg do it. He uses Twitter. It's like, okay. But no, just thank you for that. There's not a lot of, I wouldn't classify you guys as indie, but you're not like Bethesda level either, but you're like, triple I, whatever. Like, you're pretty high up there. Like, having that transparency in Twitter and that sense of community that you read and react to our stuff, it really goes a long way for our community, and we do appreciate it a lot.
Of course, yeah. I want to make sure we're fully engaged with the community as much as possible, because you guys are the ones out there playing, and between the data that we're gathering and interacting with you and anyone else that's popping through on the Discord or anywhere else, like it's great to get that information as well as share as much as we're able to.
This next one's a little tricky. I don't know if you can answer it or not. If you can't, don't worry about it. But it says, are you guys planning on expanding or fully implementing any kind of proper control tether extending and contraction? I know in the current bill right now, you have the grip that allows you to pull in and pull out. Do you think that'll ever be implemented into the game, like on a blanket piece for like all the particle wands?
So that was something that we ended up deciding was best for the attachment specifically. We had tested it early on, and it became far too effective for a lot of the gameplay to go down, and being able to focus in on making sure busters are paying attention to their positioning when they're trapping and tethering is something we wanted to make sure it was a thought process that was completely eliminated when everyone had access to such a powerful maneuver. So we moved it into an attachment.
That mechanic was very powerful, very, very powerful. And that's why we put it into an attachment, because like I said, it was how we were doing it. But like it just became one of those things where it's like, for the sake of balance, we had to bring it out, and I missed it. So, it was one of those things that we put into an attachment that was very necessary.
So the Ghost has 3 core abilities, right? And each one have a different unique and skins, but the Ghostbusters have a plethora of gadgets and add-ons. What are some of the challenges when you add a new gadget or take away a gadget or change a gadget? Like you said, Jared, it could be the domino effect. Like, what are some of the challenges when you do that in balance patches specifically?
I mean, it's one of those things where we play test a lot, and our QA team is very diligent. We've got a bunch of devs that play the game very hardcore, but I call it developer blindness, where it's like you look at this much, this angle, but then when it goes out into the world, it's being looked at a completely, you know, a wider angle of like people playing the game completely different and playing it, you know, I don't want to say wrong, but completely in an abstract way, that then we're like, shit, if you do this thing and this thing, it completely, you know, flips this on you know, on its ear. Like, honestly, like the gizmo's pretty cut and dry. But I do think that in the next couple of months, I do think that there could be teams that are rocking a full stack of gizmos, and the Ghost is completely blind to where the Ghostbusters are, and that's going to change the game. I feel like that's where, you know, it being like a cool thing that we had. It's like, oh, you know what we should do? We should do this thing that just, you know, removes the vision. It was as simple as that. Like, hey, we should make this do this thing, and we've play tested it, and we make sure that it doesn't break the game. But I think that with the community and with people that are playing a lot, there's going to be people that are like, okay, everyone rock a gizmo. Now the Ghost is blind, and then all the Ghost players are going to be like, I don't get what's going on with this game. I can't see the Ghostbusters anymore, not fully thinking or being aware of how powerful that gizmo is. You know, so I think that, you know, those are those weird edge cases, and some of the elements that we're adding are very cut and dry. But, you know, as I think it's the bigger thing is like the new Ghosts that are being designed and developed, and figuring out how to make them not just the same old thing. So we're trying to do new elements with it, which then adds those edge cases quite a bit.
Yeah, they as far as the secondary gadgets, like we've kind of designed the secondary gadgets to exist in a slot, right? So it's actually pretty easy to add to it, because you're basically defining this gameplay chunk that's being taken on by any of the busters, and depending on what they choose is going to really vary how they're playing the game. So as long as we're designing within that boundary of this needs to be so helpful, but not this helpful that it's really kind of pushing and pulling how your selection is making a difference. So that does make it a little bit easier for the buster side when we're adding gadgets, just because we're able to kind of just keep that in mind off the bat and balance it accordingly, so that doesn't become something that's way too powerful or too weak in any scenario that would just rob that of any meaning.
The Ecto goggles seem to function differently in private lobbies as opposed to public matches. Is that intentional? Like, what's going on with the Ecto goggles specifically you can talk about?
We're gathering the bugs around it because there is definitely some network issues that are happening with the functionality, and what you're seeing in the private matches is correct, but we're going to be getting that stuff addressed so that it functions correctly.
This is another follow-up to the Ecto goggles question.
That's why you're not getting a pool table.
I was working on the dartboard, and then
but we're getting darts. But we got darts. The game's broken, but we got darts. You wanted this. That's you put everybody. You wanted this. You asked for it.
See, I mean, that's the thing. That's just our life. That's our life. Like all these great ideas, because believe me, we've got devs with great ideas, and we've got people like, it's like, oh man, these are great ideas, but goddamn that goggle. That's just that fucking goggle, man. It's just our life.
The follow-up to that question is, the Ecto goggles specifically seem like a very difficult gadget to balance, because you don't want everyone taking them. If they're too good, everyone will take them and nothing else. Like, are there any challenges when you were originally designing those, and how they will be implemented now and in the future?
Yeah, it's something where, like, we had to kind of take the original idea of what the Ecto goggles were and kind of, you know, the different iterations of how they've been shown and used throughout, because they're such a popular device. And then kind of, you know, look at that in the form of what our game is, and where those would really come in handy, while also kind of adhering to the same types of rules and lore that we're working with. So it wasn't too, like, I think there was definitely some stuff like getting the battery added to it and stuff was important. Now, because we have a better way to begin to tune, we can make it more powerful while also having the drawback of certain elements being added in there. So it's definitely something that we continue to keep an eye on and fix up and get into a place where we feel is going to be kind of a really good balance across the board.
So Muncher
a lot over the past 6 months before we launched.
Yeah, no, I bet.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
now the next question is, Muncher can eat the pylon and destroy it, but he can't eat the trap or the radar puck. Is there any particular reason behind that? Is that something he will be able to do maybe one day?
We need to. There's some functionality issues behind that we had to address first. So that wasn't something that we were able to do right out of the gate. The pylon worked in with some of the other systems and worked better.
Beautiful. That's a great answer. Actually, that's a really good answer. The community will love that answer. They know that it's in the works. And then my final question is, the community asked for a lot of different things. Like Jared said, ideas are cheap. They want the voice actor, the Grow Ghostbusters voice actors. They want extreme gear. They want answer the call gear. They want all this stuff. What can we as a community do to support you, to maybe give you that extra bit of gump from Ghost Corps and Sony to make that stuff happen, even if it's way out there in left field? Like, what can we continue to do to support your game and get you guys funding to keep doing really cool stuff after this initial year of release?
I mean, we didn't want to do the paid DLC thing. Like that's the thing that we started when we started Ghostbusters. It was a mandate to make this a family-friendly game, and it was a mandate to make this so parents could play the game with their kids, and it's not this, give me money, I need a battle pass, give me money, I need DLC, give me money, I need X, Y, and Z. Will we do that ever again? Probably not. Because it's just one of those things where I feel like it's you could be good guy Greg as much as you want, but the fact is like there's things that need to be done. But luckily enough, we built into the development plan the support structure that we're going to do. I think that the big thing is like, get your friends to buy the game, get your friends to play with you, get I don't want to say buy multiple copies, but track down the
I bought multiple copies.
Yeah, I mean track down the Tobin Spirit Guide edition, and that's have that as your collection. And I don't know, it's just one of those things where it's like we're supporting it, and we have plans, and we're doing a lot of great things. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where the way you support a game is you buy it and you play it, and you treat us civilly, and you give us feedback, and you give us support. And honestly, like that's the greatest part, is like this community has been awesome, and I'm proud to say that I plan on doing more stuff, and even 5, 6, 7, 10 years from now, when I can be at an event in my suit with my proton pack and all that stuff, and no one knows that I made the game, but like I'm still seeing it, and when we see people with the gear from the game, it's like, fuck, that's awesome. Like I knew the terminal reality guys, terminal reality guys, when they were working on the game, and I was super stoked on what they were doing, and I still see a couple of them from time to time, and they the producer that I knew, he sent me a text when we announced. He's like, oh, that's so awesome, I'm so glad that you guys are working on that, I know you're a fan. And so it's just one of those things where support comes from supporting the community as a whole, like the Ghostbusters community as a whole. Like, I mean, I feel like the support of the community, the outcry of the community, should be supporting the league. It should be watching the league play. It should be giving us feedback, joining our discords and our forums, and giving us bugs and issue, and keeping up with the ideas, and interacting with our community group, and just being I feel like just continuing moving forward, because we're continuing. We have a lot of really great stuff coming, and it's I think that like the Ghostbusters community is one of the coolest around, and I'm happy to be a part of it. But I think that like as far as Ghost Corps go, like they're super supportive. Sony Pictures, they're super supportive. We're getting stuff through approvals that it's kind of shocking, but yeah, I mean, it's not done. We're not done. That's the great part. So if anything, it's like, if your friend doesn't have the game, maybe talk them into getting the game, or if it comes on a sale, buy it for a friend. I don't know. Like, I don't want to just bang the drum and go buy the game 100 times, but like, talk your friends into playing with you. And if you like the game as much as I feel like a lot of people do, it shouldn't be hard to say like, hey, you should get this and play with me. I think that's the big thing about a gaming community is that.
And you guys, thank you so much. That's my time. But thank you. And again, thank you guys tremendously. Like seriously, you guys are really killing it. Like with everything. Like you guys are nailing the DLCs. You're nailing all the everything is absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait what you guys come out with next. In what, 3 months, 4 months? We'll see. But I cannot wait for the next quarter to drop. I'm looking forward to what you guys have. Thank you so much for your time, Jared and Jordan. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, man.